Big Little Lies is a story about how women relate to one another, be it by fighting, bonding, or a little bit of both.
This is Monterey. We pound people with knives. To death.
In the first season, the characters learn some useful lessons about friendships and life that we, too, can internalize. If we stop dividing everyone into us versus them, if we reveal our scary secrets while seeking help from friends, and if we give up those ideal images in our heads while accepting the choices we've made, we could all end up united and stronger together, having fun on the beach.
I'm on your side, woman.
So let's look at the lessons we learned from Season 1 of Big Little Lies. As we enter Monterey, Jane, the younger, less wealthy, and less polished newcomer, serves as a surrogate for us. We instantly feel out of place right alongside her, not good enough to be part of this world.
You guys are just right. You're exactly right. And for some reason that makes me feel wrong, I guess.
The setting of Big Little Lies is an idyllic paradise, and its inhabitants feel a great pressure to be as perfect as the view.
Sometimes I'm just holding on to this idea of perfection so tight. Something has to give.
We get countless shots of a character staring out at a breathtaking vista, holding a glass of wine while unable to appreciate the beauty before her, and stuck replaying some stress from the day in her mind. The character's exhausting pursuit of perfection applies to their looks and fearing the loss of youth, to their careers and wealth, and to their families and domestic bliss. Yet as the show progresses, all of the characters learn that chasing perfection is hurting their hopes for real happiness. Madeline thinks she wants something more exciting in her life, but the series reminds us that she's at her happiest with Ed. Renata is finally able to relax and make friends once she accepts that she can't be an infallible mother who protects her daughter from all risks. Celeste most of all has to overcome that siren of perfection because she does appear from the outside to have it all. She's introduced to us as others see her, as the prettiest, richest, smartest woman in town with the most handsome husband and a sex life to match.
Really?
So she has to let go of this dearly held image of herself. It's only without her picture-perfect husband that she can finally smile on the beach. In the sequence that intercuts Jane's and Celeste's very different styles of making dinner, the irony is not just that these women have both been attacked by Perry, but also that while Celeste's life appears so together, she is actually, of all the people we've met, in the most dire real peril. Jane comes to realize that all these perfect people are anything but, so we should stop judging ourselves so harshly and holding ourselves to these impossible standards.
And you're not perfect. Welcome to the club. We're all f***ed up.
Of course, the show is encouraging us to feel the same relief of knowing that the rich and fabulous aren't nearly as happy as we might imagine.
Is her eye okay? Apparently. She'll be fine.
Madeline Mackenzie both brings people together and draws lines in the sand. She's a fiercely loyal, well-intentioned, and generous friend.
I like you already. You're an intrinsically nice person.
But she's also eager to pick sides and contend with other strong female types.
You know, sometimes I think it's like us against them, the career mommies.
We're drawn into Madeline's ranks, rooting for victory in her war, convinced by Madeline to immediately dislike new characters.
Gabby is such a gossip, we don't like her.
Bonnie and Renata are each initially presented as the other woman who's not on our side. Bonnie because she's married to Madeline's ex, and Renata because of her aggressive reaction to her daughters getting hurt.
Honey, Mommy is getting very upset. I'm getting very upset.
What's curious about our initial reactions to these characters, though, is that they're both types of women who, in theory, we should be applauding. We mimic Madeline's harsh snap judgments. Given our society's biases, it's easy for us to dislike a high-powered, strong-minded businesswoman. But over time, with Madeline, we start to see inside Renata's view, and we realize that she's reacting to the pressures of facing a world that resents her.
I said I'm not liked. You should have seen the way they looked at me today.
Her response to her daughter being physically abused in school is actually pretty close to how many scared mothers might deal with that problem. And Renata wins over Madeline and us by proving wise enough to take ownership of her mistakes.
I'm so sorry. I've treated you and your little boys so badly.
It's okay. It takes a really big person to apologize like that. You're a very big person.
Bonnie is a character that we really should like from the start because she's portrayed as a whole person, fulfilled by work and love, and invested in bringing people together.
You know, we were saying we should get Sky and Chloe together for a play date. I mean, they're half-sisters and they pretty much never see each other. It's ridiculous.
Are they? Am I missing the math?
But thanks to Madeline, we distrust Bonnie's seeming perfection and question her motives. Near the end, when Bonnie is revealed as Perry's killer and the group's savior, we finally like her more because we've seen emotional rawness in her. Her positive worldview, which we once smirked at, takes on more depth because she's chosen to look at the world this way. According to the source novel, that's in spite of having lived through her father's abuse of her mother.
None of us really see things as they are. We see things as we are.
Bonnie's right, and we are trained to divide. We are trained so effectively that categorizing people into us versus them is often an automatic, subconscious impulse. The show very intentionally pits us against Bonnie and Renata, only to make us question why we were so eager to dislike these women for their strengths. Just as the show portrays the horrors of physical violence, it also shows Madeline questioning her go-to tactics of participating in verbal and emotional violence, needing to make enemies, and approaching life as a competition. The key lesson that Celeste and Jane learn is that hiding the truth is what really weakens us. It's only when we let out what we see as our worst secrets that we can be free of them and move on in our lives.
And we have this dirty secret.
Celeste refuses to accept that she's a victim, so she convinces herself that she can handle everything on her own.
It's all right, I'm fine.
She obscures the truth from her doctor.
Are we talking about a physical expression of anger?
No.
And she completely alters the reality when explaining it to her closest friend.
Sometimes I think that he likes to fight because it leads to sex. Sometimes I think I like it too.
I have to say, Celeste, that sounds a little bit twisted. But kind of great, too.
Yet Celeste can't get herself out of danger just through stoicism in private, and it's only when her big secret is thrust into public view that she can finally live without fear. Jane, who's the victim of abuse from the same man, shares Celeste's instinct to hide the trauma she's experienced. She's a personal foil to Madeline in that Jane's go-to strategy is to stay out of things. The first time we see her, she's hesitant to get out of her car and help Madeline.
Should we make sure the lady's okay?
Yeah.
But she realizes that she needs to set a good example for her son, Ziggy. Jane has to fight her instinctive isolation, and in doing so, she gains allies and a richer life. As she succeeds in being more socially open, she meanwhile learns to stop running from her emotions, and owns her anger and sadness about what happened to her.
Have you talked to anybody about this? Like a therapist or a counselor or someone?
The first person I've ever told.
Significantly, once she tells Madeline about Ziggy's father, she's suddenly able to notice men and imagine new relationships.
Ever since I told you about Ziggy's dad, it's like this thing that's been happening to my body. Like it's wanting to wake up again or something.
Both Celeste and Jane get support from their allies in the climactic final battle of the first season, illustrating that what can ultimately save us is to open up and allow others to help. The closing montage of Big Little Lies suggests that contentment is within our reach if we learn to accept the choices we've made. In therapy terms, this is called radical acceptance, which basically means being okay with reality as it is and not worrying about what you can't change. Madeline is initially shown to be unfulfilled by her role as a stay-at-home mom.
You have another chapter. You have a business. And I don't. I'm a mom. This is my universe.
Her anger toward her enemies isn't just about what they've done to wrong her. It also betrays her insecurities and fears of inadequacy. She can relate to Celeste, who gave up her career to raise her family. But these other women represent a life path that Madeline wonders if she should have taken. And because Madeline worries that she's made the wrong choices in her life, she lashes out with self-destructive behavior. Madeline and Celeste both feel great relief when they acknowledge to each other that as much as they love their children, motherhood doesn't fill their every need, and it can't be their whole lives.
I feel so ashamed for saying this, but being a mother, it's not enough for me. It's just not.
Meanwhile, Renata also questions whether she's made a mistake through the opposite choice, prioritizing career over full-time childcare.
What kind of person chooses to work? Certainly not a mother, by any acceptable standards.
Both women might envy the other for making the right choices, but the story teaches us that there is no such thing. Any path is going to have downsides, and neither parenting nor career success in itself is going to be everything. The show suggests that the happiness we can enjoy comes from togetherness, accepting our choices and our limits, and not being a slave to impossible expectations of perfection. Our joy in life might not be where we expected to find it. If there's one all-inclusive lesson that the first season of Big Little Lies boils down to, it's that we should help each other and bond together. Because even though one villain is gone, the voyeuristic final shot implies a new threat rising against the women of Monterey.
Who knows what lies out there beneath the surface?
Monsters?
Monsters, maybe. Dreams. Sunken treasure. It's the great unknown.